Welcome to Rotterdam Rooftopics. My name is Léon van Geest and today I'm standing here on this very remarkable, very long rooftop on this windy, sunny winter day, and I'm talking to Dirk van Peijpe, who has made the design for a new park to be here on this rooftop of the Hofbogenpark. Here we are on this very Dutch, windy, sunny day on this, well, remarkable rooftop. Fantastic. It's great. It feels like something very special. Is it something very special?
It's unique. It's unique in many, many ways.
Because what we see here, it goes on for...
This is 2 kilometers, almost 2 kilometers of elevated railway. It was a connection for around 100 years. It was a special connection. It was one of the first electrified railways in the Netherlands. It was also, I think, one of the first viaduct was built in concrete, in strength concrete. And that's one of the reasons that it's also a national monument. It's a national heritage that we're sitting on top of. Yeah.
And it's been lying like this. It's not been used for trains for how many years?
Ooh, I think it's, let's say that 15 years, 10 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I think already for 10 years people were dreaming about something else. The trains left.
And now, finally, the process of dreaming has ended and now there's a real plan that we're gonna make. But before we start with that, I have the personal question which I always start my interview with. What was your first rooftop experience?
Yeah, Leon. I think like so many others, you go back to the childhood, right? And in this case, I was born in Leiden, in an apartment building, which was quite a freestanding tower, where I was growing up at the 5th floor.
Yeah.
The building itself had 8, so as a kid, I think it was around 10 and 11, you could go up to and then go on the roof, which was not officially allowed, but you could. And that let's say to see the world from a different perspective is definitely one of the first things I remember from
the quality
from that.
You remember from such
definitely. And
do you think it because now we're 1 story high? Is there still something of that quality left here in this space?
Sure, I think to have a park, because it will be a park, right? So to have a park on a higher level, on a viaduct, it just makes you curious to go up. That's the first place. We of course also have to go down, so you will make connections. So there's I think a strong desire along the line. We are passing at least 3 different districts to go up.
Yeah.
And the excitement is also when you're there, as you can see, it's an amazing perspective.
Yeah.
And it makes a few beautiful curves. And you walk, although there's now some renovation going on in the streets, but further on the line, you really walk also through the trees. So because the streets are part of the experience, you will have an experience that you're really walking through like in a landscape surrounded by treetops. And that's really beautiful. Really beautiful. I think, and I hope, and I'm almost sure.
And so that's the future, but it's somewhere it began, and there were, of course, a lot of people dreaming. There were a lot of plans from students, from professionals already. And of course, there was the reference to a High Line a lot. Where did it start for you?
Well, it started for me, and when I say me, then I'm talking about the design team, which is the Urbanisten, where I'm partner, but also DS, Landscape Architects, and the Duck Doctor. So we are the design team. Yeah. And we got commissioned to make the design, I think a year ago. Let's make it a year ago.
But before that, you knew already of this spot.
Yeah,
you had dreams about it, maybe.
And the fact that we could make a design was made possible by first of all the ownership. For a long time there was a split ownership. The building itself was owned by 2 housing corporations. For them it was a sort of a weird property because there's no social housing in there, but entrepreneurs. And the other owner was the railway company that when the trains left, basically had nothing to do on the roof, but they owned the thing, and that made things very complicated. Then there was a deal made by a housing corporation and ProRail and the municipality of the city of Rotterdam to sell the building to a new owner, which is the Dudok Group, and to have the right of way for the municipality to make a park on top. And that was the first time that there was a sort of a shared project and a short ambition.
Yeah.
And the good thing, of course, is that you need money to do this. It's not a cheap project. So how to fund this? And the last year, the municipality also organized, as part of 7 big green projects in the city, the funding for this park. So then we say all lights are green, basically. Yeah. We have an owner who wants to participate and also contributes to the park. We have a municipality. We have people around that are really dreaming for a long time. And there's money to make it.
Yeah.
And a good design team.
So what was so a park, everybody said, okay, it's going to be a park, but that's multi-interpretable.
Yeah.
How did you interpret that idea?
Well, a few things that right from the start, when we did our first presentation of our ideas, that we want to make a park that is not only aesthetically and functionally a park, but that contributes in many ways to let's say the agenda of the city and its inhabitants.
Yeah.
And to make it a little bit less abstract, it, for instance, means that we want to have a park that is nature inclusive, that is there for us, but is there also for nature. So we give access also for animals.
Yeah.
Not because it's fun, but because we think that we are not next to nature, but we are part of nature. So we should build an environment that's also open and accessible for our
not only
friends.
the green, not only the plants, but also the animals.
The animals, and of course you need to create habitats to welcome the people, the visitors. What can you do on the roof? What kind of activities do you give place for? It should be used
also for.
You create a condition to actively use it as a park, and also for bees and butterflies, for bats, for frogs, even hedgehogs. We create an environment that makes it possible for them also to access the park, to spend time here, to collect food, to nest, and so on.
Yeah. And at last there was also a water challenge.
That's another thing. We're in a delta city, so it's impossible to make a project here in Rotterdam without addressing the innovative water management of this city, which made Rotterdam also famous around the world. So what we're going to do here is to collect rainwater, the abundance of rainwater often from the surrounding districts.
Yeah.
To bring that not to the sewage but to the roof of the park. There we have a natural environment to clean that water. It's going through soil and plantations, and then we bring the clean water to a subterranean reservoir, aquifer, and that makes it possible to bring the water back to the park
in a
when you need
way.
It, when it's dry, when there's not enough water, to water the plants, but also it's pure, it's good quality water, so you can play with it, you can actively enjoy the fresh rainwater that we collected before.
And is there also a connection to the water square that you've designed a few years ago?
Yes, there is. Because
maybe you can explain what a water square is?
Yes, sure. Very short, in the water square we disconnected a larger environment from the combined sewer system, and the rainwater that's being collected goes into a square, which is basically a deep basin. That when there is no rain, it can be used as a square, as a place for sports and other leisure activities.
Yeah.
And it empties within a day. And at the moment, it empties via a pump and a drain to the nearby canal. And we now want to keep that water here. We call that, or I would call that the sponge city concept. We want to keep the water here for when we need it. So that water is going to be brought to the roof. And also where we are at Lisebuurt, they will have a water system in the future. They're already building it. And also there we take the rainwater out of that district to bring it to the park.
Yeah. So then we have the water, we have the nature with the plants and the animals, and then we go back to people. For who will this park be?
Yeah, that's of course the important thing. For who are you making the park? And let's start with saying that it's, for me, it will be open for everyone. So it's an inclusive environment, which makes it first of all, it crosses in this 2 kilometers the neighborhoods of Hofplein, of Soho, Agnische Buurt, Liskwartier, Berkhoudt. So we have around 5 districts with a lot of people that lack quality space to linger, and in COVID times it's really important to have green around the corner. So they are welcome in the park in the first place. Then it's a Rotterdam thing, right? It's going to be like the Erasmus Bridge or the Markthal, but then in a different way, in a more soft way, an icon for the city, I think. So it will attract people from around as well, and they're also welcome.
Yeah.
And I do think that tourists will find this Hofbogenpark as well in their to-do list.
But more in a kind of wandering kind of way. I'm going through the city and I'm going to take a stroll through the park, more than that it is a tourist attraction or something.
Yeah, that I think it's true. There's something of comparison with the High Line in New York, and just imagine that there are days in the High Line that around 65,000 people are visiting the High Line at one day. Yeah. Well, that is sort of a nightmare for at least the people that live around. Yeah. But I would say that it's also not the purpose of this park. But there is what I think is interesting is we really have this line going from the center to outside, right? Which it also used to be when it was still a train track. So we thought about, well, they're going from wet to high, the low rise and the high rise.
And the wind.
And we're also going for a more urban environment with a little bit more vibration, with a little bit more activities that we can accommodate in the park, to a more local environment with more quiet landscape, with less places for really actively use for larger groups. So we try to work from that.
And you did that also with a kind of reference to the whole train thing with platforms.
Yeah, that's you might first consider it a bit corny to come up with that. Sorry for that.
But there's no name, platform number 11, I think.
It's inescapable to, again, if the viewers will have this perspective. You could see that between these concrete walls, sides, that was the part where the trains were. The outside is the path where you had to inspect the whole line. So it's still very prominently there. We also have to work within these boundaries, so that will be 6 meters wide, which is really extremely small.
Yeah.
In which we can organize this park. And then we said, all right, what do we want to do in the park? So first of all, we want to move. And that was what we called tracks.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, it's the long thing. So we make tracks, a path that you can walk from the beginning to the end and back, which is around 2 meters wide, since there's not too much space. Sometimes it's get a little bit wider. That's the tracks, and then we have the platforms. And the platforms we link to this path, and they are the places for lingering, for meeting each other, for activities that you can spend a little bit more time. And they can be programmed in many different ways. We did some suggestions in the plan for how that could be done. Like it could be for work. We're in Soho district now for working and studying. A lot of students around. So we provide them with a platform, with large tables, with free Wi-Fi and a little bit of a covering. Yeah. There are some parts where we think about small platforms for children to play, or for sort of sports.
And also with the water.
We have some water platforms too, but those platforms can also be a little bit more linked to green activities, so a small community garden that we collectively maintain. So there's still many options there, but the important thing is
it's not a mono park where we have a plantation plan and we just go 2 kilometers of birch trees and...
No, definitely not. It was a very strong, indeed, a very strong desire, also from the municipality, to not only make a park in the 6 meters, and from all perspectives is indeed very small. So all kind of things that you want to do in a park can't be done in this kind of physical environment. So to link that to a larger environment of streets and to connect it to the North Singel and to ecological structures like the Northern Canal is really crucial. So there's as part of the future perspective, also the ambition to start working on the streets and to make them more.
They're working on the streets
They
now.
are working right now, and they're trying to also increase the size of sidewalks along the Hofbogen, to make the streets more actively usable for pedestrians, for bikes.
Also maybe a bit less more parking spaces?
That's one of the things that you always need to address then. And yes, the answer would be that I think we're going towards an urban environment which we are more spending on active mobility, on walking, on biking,
so
and rebalance the amount of pavement and the space that we need for cars, yes.
Yeah, and also so it will be a green environment up, but also aside from
that's from a biodiversity or ecological point of view, that's also really important. But it also creates a more attractive urban environment on the ground floor. People can also participate, right? They can take their tiles out, make small front gardens and so on. So it's
and
also
of course we have the entrepreneurs who are in that zone, who are participating in a way in the whole park.
Yeah, let's not forget about them. Indeed, they're underneath us right now.
Yeah.
And also 2 kilometers of entrepreneurs. So first of all, the idea is that by connecting and making a park, it's going to be also their shared empire. That's a very simple thing. So people can go down, visit one of these arches and go up again. For instance, if you want to buy a cup of coffee, then you can go down and take your coffee up. There's even some places where you can spend a little bit more time on the roof in a commercial environment.
With a little terrace or...
Yep. Yeah. And then we're really investigating a link which is more program-wise. So doing things in the bogen, in the arches, might also link to activities that you can employ on the roof.
It could even attract a new sort of entrepreneurs there.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting and really nice if there would be also something of an exchange. That the park also brings in new forms of commercial activities in the bogen. The doc is working on also really looking at the in Dutch called branchering. So what kind of entrepreneurs do we see? What we have, of course, is important.
The whole mixed use of the water, the entrepreneurs, the plants, the nature, the people, different kinds of people from here, from outside. It all has to mix in with each other.
Yeah, in that sense, I think that's what you're referring to. It's quite a complete proposal. Yeah. Inclusive in many ways, and I think talking about adding values, and we discussed the agenda of the city, which is about the healthy city, a more resilient city, a city that's also attractive for people, inclusive. All these themes, they are here on the roof, and they're integrated in what I consider to be a beautiful design. But it's about the added values of this kind of blue-green infrastructures for people.
And then we're very happy with everything's lying there, but then there's also. I think it wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy. No, it's in a good way to focus on that. Because you never, there's something that this is once in a lifetime thing. And one of the challenges is definitely the bizarre structure. The fact that you have to make a park which is only 6 meters wide and 2 kilometers long.
Yeah.
With all the complexity of a process, people all want to have a say. 2 owners, let's say 2 clients that also sometimes have different interests. So the process is quite different, but also the design itself. So it's basically too small for a park or too wide for a path.
Yeah.
So how to do that? And that was really a design challenge. And I think that by working with some continuous elements, we have the path, we have the landscape that is continuous. We also want to make these two lines that you can see on the camera a little bit more visually attractive to see. Well, this is really closing, framing the park.
Yeah.
We call that the golden edge, and the golden edge would also be sometimes an arch or a balcony.
To pass through, or
we try to organize some communities there along the 2 kilometers, and at the same time, these platforms, they can bring in differentiation and also flexibility in time.
I like the plan very, very much, and I think it will be a huge contribution to the neighborhood, but also to the city of Rotterdam. And what's the planning? When
the planning
we
is
sit here and do this again, but then in the green?
Well, the planning, of course, the good thing is that that we passed the phase of delivering a sketch design that was also very warm welcomed by the neighborhoods.
And by the municipality.
By the municipality, the funding is also there. So the next step would be to go into a more elaborated design.
Again, together with the neighborhood?
Together with the neighborhood and the entrepreneurs and others that are having an interest here.
Yeah.
And then the planning is to have a first access to the rooftop park of Hofbogen in 2023. So we need this year, but also the next year, to go from the sketch design to building and opening the park. Yeah,
I'm looking very forward to it, to sit here again in 2-3 years and see where we are then. Thank you very much for this interview.
My pleasure, Leon.